Hi, Leo. Welcome to your May 2017 love reading. It's Rena here. Now, before I lay out the cards, I just wanted to let you know that Venus is going to be in Aries all month long. And because Aries is a fellow fire sign, this aspect is called a trine. So whether it's your sun sign or your rising sign, it's making a trine to Venus. And this is really good for any kind of situation because Venus is going to be in your, I guess it would be your 9th house. And this is the house of foreign travel and higher education. So there could be, if you're going to school or if you teach at a university, maybe you'll meet someone at the university. Maybe you'll meet someone in yoga class. Maybe you'll meet someone on a trip that you take. You might find love in that area. So I just wanted to let you know about that because whenever we have a trine or a sextile, it's a lot more easy flowing and things tend to manifest without much effort, you know, so that's really cool. Wow, lots of swords so far. There's another sword. Well, first off, it makes me wonder if any of you are involved with air signs. The air signs are Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. I'm thinking specifically of Aquarius right now, which happens to be your opposite sign, Leo. And so, what could be happening here? Well, first off, let me just say, when you have a preponderance of swords, there could be a lot of drama happening. There could be a lot of thinking going on. You might be overly stimulated in that area where you're thinking a lot too much or thinking a lot. There's the central theme here is the Seven of Swords. When I see this card in a love reading, a lot of times I think of cheating. And occasionally this card can be talking about going on your own and like leaving a situation. And I did get the Queen of Swords for the current time to kind of accompany this card. So it may be exactly the opposite of that. Instead of cheating, it could be. But you know what? Even in that case, if you're going it alone, it might be because somebody cheated on you. Okay. One thing I just want to make clear here is that these readings are really intended for people who are going through some difficulties in a current relationship or are single or well, those are the two main ones. It isn't for people who are having a great relationship. You really have no reason to be listening to readings if your relationship is really going gangbusters. Because I do get some people who say, oh, this isn't true for me. My relationship is wonderful. I've been with this person for 20 years. And I always wonder, why are they watching this? Is there something that is making them question that underneath it all? Or are they really just afraid of something bad happening? You know, it's not a good way to go through life to kind of anticipate the worst. So just understand that this may not resonate with some people if you're in a good relationship. And obviously, there are many reasons why relationships falter. And cheating is just one of them. The reason that I'm thinking specifically of cheating is that this card, and you might even be able to tell a little bit, with the person. He's kind of slinking off. And sometimes this can also be talking about some type of robbery or, you know, theft in general. But there's a sketchy quality sometimes to that. But as I say, it could be going it alone. And sometimes it may even be doing so in a covert way because you have had enough, you know. The Ten of Swords is like the final straw. And yet, because this card, you know, actually depicts being stabbed in the back, I often think of betrayal. Somebody getting, you know, betrayed by somebody. And usually in a love relationship that involves some sort of affair. But not always. Sometimes people feel betrayed because maybe a person misrepresented themselves in some way. Sometimes it's financial. Sometimes people pretend that they have money and then the other person gets married to them and they find out that the person's bankrupt or, you know, things like that. And whether or not, if you had found out about that before, whether that would have been a deal breaker, maybe you would have stayed with that person. But it's the deception that creates the rift, really, because you feel like the person was not straight with you. So something along those lines. And then now we have this. This is the Queen of Swords. So this is somebody who is, you know, solitary, going it alone. Maybe you might still be with the person physically, but you've already checked out mentally. And that's another thing I was going to say with the Seven of Swords. It can be where, you know, you're kind of planning things behind the scenes to make your grand escape, but you don't want to let the other person know all of your plans in advance. So you're kind of, maybe you're playing along with things until you can get all your ducks lined up, and then you're going to be gone. And this could also, as I say, involve an air sign individual. Sometimes it will not be the sun sign. It could be either the moon or rising sign. You know, maybe even the Mars or the Venus, depending on how, if let's say you have Mars and Venus in Gemini, and that gives the person a much more detached way of interacting in their love life, even if they are a water sign, let's say. And so that affected the situation. Also, if you're dealing with somebody like this, they may have manipulated you mentally. And that might have been something that was really, where they got inside your head, I call it, you know. And for a long time you were buying into what they were saying, and you finally saw the light. Now, thinking about Leo, you did have a full moon that was actually a lunar eclipse back in February, and that may have been a time of revelation for you. I don't know, but definitely maybe in the winter something occurred for some of you in a long-term relationship. The higher message is the Three of Wands. So this is, you know, a card associated with fire energy. And as a higher message, it could be talking about your goals, your aspirations, your creative projects. Maybe somebody, if you were in a relationship that was not healthy, it's possible that, let me take a sip. It's possible that the relationship really affected your work or your career, or just your creative output. And that maybe something that has been on the back burner that you need to kind of get back into the groove with. Because the Three of Wands is about entrepreneurial stuff. It's about anything that is creative that you have been wanting to launch. You're a creative being, Leo. And when your love life is going south, you know, you're so romantic that it can really impact it because it's such a big part of who you are. And it's not surprising, you know, people who are romantic tend to also be creative. That's how I feel. So when they don't have this wonderful relationship, it can wreak havoc in other areas of their life, more so than probably the average person. Well, I want to say one more thing about this Three of Wands. It's about also possibly traveling, maybe even long distances. And I told you about having Venus in the 9th house of foreign travel and higher education. So it's something expansive. That's what the 9th house. So it could be, if you have been kind of wanting a fresh start in some way, that some of you may think, you know, I'm just going to pick up shop and I'm going to take off somewhere else. The Three of Wands can even be talking about career matters, doing them overseas or something far away. And maybe that's something that will appeal to you because you can just reboot your life. So I don't know if that's something that most of you will be interested in doing, but it might just be on the mental level where you realize that you want so much more for yourself. Maybe you were in a narrow kind of a situation for whatever reason, and now you feel the sense of possibilities. And, you know, that can feel very freeing and exciting, but at the same time, it can be a little bit daunting if you have to totally start over from scratch. You know, if maybe you've lived in one place a long time and it's hard to make that transition. What crosses you is the Hangman card, and that kind of goes along with what I was just saying, because the Hangman card is about there being maybe this lull in the action, because maybe there's something else has to occur, and yet in other words, that you can't control everything, and so you have to kind of let go and let the universe do its thing. But in the challenge position, this is kind of like you not making a decision and kind of waiting too long, and maybe not taking action when you should. And that can happen when people are afraid of change. And this is something that all the fixed signs, including Leo, may struggle with from time to time, is that they like that constancy, even if it's not something that they're happy about in terms of the actual events that are occurring. They may like the predictability that's happening, and so that's when you have to kind of deal with. The advice, or what's coming in, is the Star card, and this is such a beautiful card, and I love the Morgan Greer version of this because the colors are just very vibrant, and the Star card does connect to Aquarius, but it's a card of feeling that sense of hopefulness again. Maybe you were in a long stretch where you were kind of starting to question your life and everything that has been transpiring. Maybe you were feeling like things were going against you for some reason, and it was making you pessimistic. And so there is something that happens, and as I say, you know, all month long, because Venus is in Aries in a friendly angle, you may start to feel like you have this new lease on life. And all of these things that I'm seeing here, I think it's like a new way of thinking, a new way of being, and this may be in the aftermath of that eclipse. And it's sometimes change happens in incrementally, and it's almost like you can't see it while it's happening in real time. But when you look back on it, you think of this major transformation, and it seems like it occurred overnight, but it really didn't. If you were to, keep a diary, you would see the little steps that led to it. But in retrospect, when you're just looking at it, it may seem like it's just happening dramatically, the change. And the star card can even talk about connection with those who have crossed over, who are guiding you, and understanding that, which maybe you didn't in the past, knowing that maybe you have a sign that you're on the right path, that all is well, and it restores your faith in not only humanity but in life itself. I usually, when I get the star card, I usually think that the person has gone through an ordeal of some sort, and they need this, they need these signs to feel this sense that things are starting to go their way again after they've been in the proverbial desert or dark night of the soul. So that's very interesting, and the outcome is the Ace of Swords, and this is really what I was talking about when I said a whole new way of thinking, a new beginning, decisiveness. This is about indecisiveness and kind of procrastination. This is about taking charge and deciding. It's right underneath the Queen of Swords, not allowing your emotions to drag you down and keep you imprisoned in a situation that no longer serves you. So the Ace of Swords is like also a card of victory. It's a very positive card, and it's also a card of new beginnings. And when you have control over your emotions, and fire signs and water signs are really the main ones affected by this, where they tend to sometimes get blindsided by their emotions, and they can overtake their ability to think clearly. Emotions are illogical, and they are just reactions, really. Even positive emotions. Emotions are, due to conditioning. What makes one person happy might not do so for somebody else. And the same with sadness. So, or anger. Some people, not everybody gets angry at the same thing. But, fire signs tend to be very passionate. So they can be reactive. And being reactive ends up sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes it can interfere with making positive decisions. If you make decisions based on emotion, you may find that it's something that you regret later. So that's why it's so important to have that detachment. And I think that you will. And I think that the reason that you will is because you've already experienced, with the Ten of Swords, the hitting bottom with a situation. And as bad as that may have felt at the time, it has given you a sense of expansion, so that it's now always something you can refer to, whatever that experience was. You always know that you were able to survive that and to learn from it for any future relationship. Another thing that could be happening, and this is the Aquarius person, could be the person that you begin a relationship with, and that could be represented by the star. The star can be, if this is an Aquarius person, that person may be someone who kind of is like your guardian angel or something in this world. And that's the person who is the best influence on you. Maybe you're with somebody who did not have your back, was not really committed to you. So anyway, Leo, I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, have a great May. Bye.